My younger brother stole $142,000 of my daughter's surgery money for gambling. Can you believe it? I used to think that my family would never do something like this, but then it happened in my own family. Follow my story and give me some advice. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Hello everyone. I'm Marcus, 38 years old. A single father living in Texas. I work as a machinery repair engineer in a factory. My 13-year-old daughter, Emma, is my everything. 10 years ago, I had a complete family, a wife, a daughter, and a home. But life doesn't always go the way we expect. My wife left after our marriage fell apart, starting a new life with a new family. And me, I stayed in my parents' old house where I grew up. It's not luxurious, but it provides shelter from the storms. Most importantly, it's where Emma and I have faced our most challenging days together. Marriage may end, but fatherhood doesn't. And what keeps me up at night is Emma's illness. Emma has severe scoliosis. If she doesn't get surgery soon, her spine will continue to curve, causing pain and potentially affecting her lungs, heart, and digestive system. Health insurance covers only a portion, but the most crucial costs, surgery, physical therapy, and recovery, are all on me. I've saved every penny for the past 3 years to reach $140,000 to $1,000. I worked endless overtime, took every extra shift I could, and skipped every holiday, every birthday, every vacation, every weekend. I traded them all for one hope to give Emma an everyday life. And finally that day came 6 months ago. I remember it clearly. It was a Tuesday. At 9 a.m., I arrived at the hospital to make a deposit and schedule Emma's surgery. On the way, I imagined her beaming with joy. Imagine the day she would walk straight for the first time without pain after the operation. But then, everything turned to ashes in seconds when I opened my bank account to transfer the money. Account balance $0 $140 to $1,000 gone. I blinked several times, hoping I was seeing it wrong. But the balance remained at zero. Impossible. I refreshed the page and checked every transaction. No errors. The money was withdrawn. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Someone had taken it. But who and how? That question haunted me. But I had no idea I was about to face the worst betrayal of my life. After a few minutes of calming myself down, I took a deep breath and dialed the bank's number. Hello, this is First National Bank customer service. How may I assist you? The representative's voice came through after 3 rings. I just checked my account and found that $142,000 is gone. I didn't make any transactions, I said, unable to control my emotions. My voice on the verge of breaking. I understand, sir. I'll check right away. Please provide your account number or social security number for identity verification. My hands trembled as I recited my SSN and answered the security questions. A few seconds passed. I heard typing. Then the representative spoke again. Sir, the money was transferred out yesterday via wire transfer. My hands froze. Wire transfer? That's impossible. I never authorized any transaction. Sir, this transaction was made from your mobile device. I stopped breathing for a moment. From my phone. Yes, your banking app was used to complete the transaction. Two-factor authentication was confirmed via an OTP sent to your registered phone number. It felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. The OTP was sent to my phone, which meant this wasn't an external attack. No hacker had broken into my account. Someone had taken my phone, opened my banking app, and transferred all the money under my nose without realizing it. My voice barely came out. Is there any way to reverse the transaction? I'm sorry, sir. Wire transfers are non-reversible. If you suspect fraud, you must personally visit a branch to file a dispute. I let my phone drop to my lap, my entire body feeling collapsing. I immediately jumped into my car, slammed my foot on the gas, and sped straight to the bank. My heart pounded and my mind raced with endless thoughts. Could this be a mistake, a system error? Inside the bank, the teller scrolled through her screen, I scanning the numbers. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. A few seconds later, she looked up. The money was transferred to a personal account. I swallowed hard, taking a deep breath. Whose account? She read out a name I never wanted to hear in this situation. Jordan Miller. I froze. My fingers dug into the edge of the counter. My brother. Not a stranger. Not some hacker from the dark web. A wave of heat surged through my chest. An overwhelming mix of betrayal, disappointment, and fury rising like a tidal wave. The teller's voice was gentle. Would you like to file a fraud claim? I opened my mouth to say yes, but then I hesitated. I took a deep breath. My eyes fixed on the desk as I tried to sort through my thoughts. File a report. For what? To call the police? To have him arrested? Should I let my parents find out about this right now? No, not yet. I shook my head. My voice low, not now. Walking out of the bank, my legs felt like they were sinking into thick mud. Sitting in my car, I rested my head against the steering wheel, staring blankly ahead. Hundreds of questions swirled in my mind. How could he betray me like this? How long had he been planning this? Did he hesitate even for a second before stealing that money? I took a deep breath, trying to smother my anger. But one thing was sure, I wasn't going to let this go quickly. I called Jordan, but he didn't pick up. There is still nothing once, twice, 3 times. By the 10th call, my anger surged to the boiling point. I gripped my phone so hard I nearly shattered it. I tried to breathe deeply, but my chest felt like it was being crushed under a heavy weight. If he wouldn't answer, I'd find him myself. I dialed my mom. After 2 rings, her voice came through, soft and gentle as always. How's everything, sweetie? Did you pay the surgery deposit yet? The question whistled like a knife in my chest. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay steady. Not yet, Mom. Is Jordan home? She hesitated for a moment. Yeah, he's in his room sleeping. Do you want me to wake him? No, don't. My voice was firm. Let him sleep. I ended the call and slammed my foot on the gas, heading straight to my parents' house. I didn't need Mom to wake him up. I'd do it myself. My parents looked shocked to see me barge in so suddenly. My dad frowned in confusion. I thought you were at the hospital taking care of Emma. I didn't answer. I didn't stop. I stormed down the hallway and shoved Jordan's bedroom door open so hard it slammed against the wall. Jordan jolted awake, his eyes still groggy with sleep. He squinted at me, frowning. What the hell are you doing? I stared him down. My voice low but laced with danger. Where's the money? His brows furrowed. What money? I laughed. But there was no humor in it. Did he think I was that stupid? Pulling out my phone, I opened the transaction history and shoved the screen in his face. $140 to $1,000 TH, this money. Straight into your account. For a split second his face turned pale. But then, just as quickly he masked it with a shrug as if this was nothing. Look, just calm down. I only borrowed it for 3 days. I have a guaranteed deal that'll make a profit. I need a little time and I'll pay it all back. I let out a bitter laugh. Borrow? You think you just borrowed it? My voice rose with every word. Do you even know what that money was for? It was for your niece's surgery. Not for you to blow on your gambling. Jordan averted his gaze, silent for a few seconds. I knew he had no way of paying it back. The fire inside me erupted. I lunged at him, grabbing his collar, my grip tightening. Do you have any idea what you've done? My parents rushed in to break us apart. My dad pulled me back while my mom stepped between us, her voice shaking. Stop it, Marcus. No one lays a hand on anyone in this house. I shoved my father's hands off me, taking a deep breath, trying to rein in the fury surging through me. Jordan just sat there, silent, not an ounce of remorse in his eyes. I locked eyes with him, my voice dropping to an icy tone. I don't want to make a scene in front of Mom and Dad, but we are going to talk, and you're going to fix this. 10 minutes later, the whole family sat in the living room. The air was thick, suffocating. I had calmed down, but the anger still burned inside me. Jordan sat across from me, head down, while my parents stared at him, waiting for an explanation. Dad was the first to speak. His voice stern but laced with confusion. Jordan explained. Why is your brother so furious? What's this about $140 to $1,000? Jordan answered instantly, without hesitation, without blinking. I had a big business opportunity but was short on funds. I just borrowed it. I'll pay it back in 3 days. I let out a bitter laugh dripping with sarcasm. A big business deal? Really? Did you wipe my account clean without asking me? Not a single word. I gritted my teeth, eyes locked onto him. Tell me, how did you take the money? Jordan avoided my gaze, his body stiff like a cornered animal. His voice was barely a whisper. I took it yesterday when you were in the shower. I slammed my hand on the table, making everyone flinch. Say it louder. Let Mom and Dad hear it. Tell them exactly how you stole the money. If you don't, I'm filing a fraud report this afternoon. Jordan swallowed hard, realizing there was no escape. He inhaled sharply, exhaled, and finally spoke. His voice shaky but trying to stay composed. Fine. He looked at me, then at our parents. His voice was dry, as if he couldn't even believe what he was about to say. Last night, when I stopped by your house while you were in the shower, I used your phone to transfer the money. A deathly silence fell over the room. Dad's eyes widened in shock, staring at Jordan as he saw him for the first time. What? You used your brother's phone to steal from him? Jordan nodded, saying nothing. I clenched my fists, but this time my voice was steady. How did you know my password? Jordan swallowed, then continued. 2 months ago, when you had that minor accident at the factory and your vision was affected, I helped take care of you for a week. You asked me to use your phone to pay your bills. That's when I saw your balance. And that's how I learned your password. I closed my eyes briefly, trying to extinguish the fire inside me. I had trusted him. I let him handle my phone when I couldn't do it myself. And he used that trust to betray me. I opened my eyes again. My voice was no longer angry, just bitter. After taking my money, you rushed out, saying you were meeting friends for drinks. Jordan nodded, silent. Dad sat frozen in his chair. Mom covered her mouth with her hand, eyes red as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. I looked straight at my brother. Now tell me, where is the money? After my question, Jordan hesitated, his eyes darting around as if searching for a believable excuse. I waited, but he still wouldn't say where the money had gone. After a long silence, he finally spoke, his voice eerily calm. I already transferred the money to a friend for an investment, as a guaranteed win. Don't worry, in 3 days I'll return the full amount with an extra $20,000 th. Consider it my way of helping with the surgery costs. I laughed. A hollow, bitter laugh. The rage inside me was like a bomb seconds from detonating. I stared at him, my voice rough in fury. I don't need your damn $20,000 th. I need the money for my daughter's surgery. Tomorrow, I shouted, my voice raw with both anger and desperation. To Jordan, this was just an investment, a potential profit. To me, it was my daughter's life. It was the pain she had endured for years, waiting for this exact moment. My parents immediately tried to de-escalate the situation. Dad's voice was low, steady. All right, just give him 3 more days. He has his reasons too. I snapped toward him, barely believing what I had just heard. 3 days? What do 3 days mean compared to the 3 years I spent saving that money? Compared to the years of suffering Emma has endured? My fists clenched, my voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. Mom sighed, exhaustion and conflict written all over her face. She looked at me, then at Jordan, caught between her two sons. Finally, Dad placed a firm hand on my shoulder. His tone was still calm, but there was finality in his words. 3 days. Trust me. If he doesn't pay you back, your mother and I will handle it. I gritted my teeth, swallowing down all the protest burning in my throat. This was how they always were, always willing to believe Jordan. Always giving him one more chance. And another. And another. But what about me? What about Mima? I had no choice. Without another word, I stood up, turned around, and walked out of the house. Driving back, I felt like a massive weight was crushing my chest. 3 years. I had spent 3 years preparing for tomorrow. And with one reckless, selfish act from my brother, everything had been thrown into chaos. But more than anything, one thought consumed me. How would I tell Emma? She had been so excited, counting down the days, marking the calendar, waiting for this moment. She had imagined the day she could walk without pain, the day she could run and play like other kids. And now what was I supposed to tell her? That her surgery was delayed because her uncle stole the money? My grip tightened on the steering wheel, and my eyes locked on the road ahead. 3 days. If Jordan didn't return the money in 3 days, I would never forgive him. Back home, I stepped into Emma's room. She was sitting on her bed, smiling, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. I sat beside her and wrapped my arms around her. There's been a small issue, so we must delay your surgery. Don't be mad at me, okay? My voice was low and steady. I tried to sound calm, but I knew I couldn't hide the exhaustion and helplessness creeping in. Emma froze for a moment. Her eyes blinked rapidly as if she had misheard me. Delayed? She asked softly. I nodded, my heart clenching at the sadness in her face. She had been counting down to this moment for 3 years, holding on to this hope. And now I had to break my promise. But Emma didn't cry. She didn't get angry. She didn't blame me. She just let out a small sigh and gave me a weak smile. It's okay, Dad. I can wait a little longer. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She shouldn't have to wait a single day longer. But there was nothing I could do. except hold her tighter, trying to hide the crushing helplessness gnawing at me from the inside. The following day, I was half asleep when my phone rang, jolting me awake. I reached for it, my eyes burning from lack of sleep. Andrew, my closest friend, was calling. His voice came through the moment I'd picked up. "Hey, Emma, surgery is today." "Everything good?" I froze for a second, unsure how to respond. "Not yet. There was an issue. I had to reschedule." I kept it short, not wanting to explain. Andrew was silent for a moment before he pressed further. "An issue? You've been saving for years. What kind of issue could there possibly be?" I sighed and told him everything. How Jordan stole the money, how my parents insisted I give him 3 days. I heard Andrew curse under his breath. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "He's been gambling at the casino." I stiffened. "What did you just say?" I nearly jumped out of bed. "Jordan, he gambles. You know he loves betting, don't you? 2 nights ago, I saw him at the casino." A chill ran through me. "What time?" I asked sharply. "Around 9 p.m. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. 9 p.m. That was the same night he left my house, claiming he was going out for drinks with friends. So that was the truth. He didn't invest the money. There was no business deal. He burned all of it in a casino. My fists clenched as rage surged through me. Then a thought struck me. Casinos have security cameras, right? Can we get the footage? I frowned. "How? My cousin manages that casino. Let me see if I can pull some strings." I took a deep breath. For the first time in days, I felt like I had a knife sharp enough to cut through all of Jordan's lies. If I got proof, Jordan would have nowhere left to run. Andrew arrived at my door 2 hours later, still holding a coffee from his car. I pulled the door open, my heart pounding. A few days ago, I had been confident that today would be the day Emma finally had her surgery. I had even taken time off work for it. But instead of being at the hospital with my daughter, I was here, waiting for proof to expose my brother. I entered the kitchen, grabbed 2 mugs, and poured fresh coffee on us both. It was going to be a long day. Andrew took a sip, then set his cup down. "Got some good news for you." He pulled out his phone, opened a video, and slid it across the table toward me. I leaned in, eyes locked on the screen. It was security footage from the casino. 2 nights ago, the timestamp in the corner was crystal clear, 9/7. And right in the middle of the frame was Jordan, sitting at a gambling table surrounded by strangers, throwing around stacks of cash like it was nothing. Like it wasn't the money meant to give Emma the chance to walk without pain. I gritted my teeth, feeling the blood in my veins boil. My fists clenched on instinct, knuckles turning white. Andrew oversaw me. His tone was serious. "You can't let this video get out." It took a lot for me to get it. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. I looked at him, trying to smile. But all I could manage was a stiff, humorless smirk. "Don't worry. I won't screw you over." But Jordan, he wasn't getting away with this. I didn't rush to expose him right away. I wanted to see how my parents would handle things in 2 days. And just as I expected, 2 days passed, and Jordan didn't pay back a single cent. That morning, I drove Emma to my parents' house. Deep down, I still held onto a sliver of hope. If Jordan paid me today, I'd take Emma straight to the hospital. She sat in the passenger seat, absently playing with her seatbelt, her eyes sparkling excitedly. She had no idea what was happening. She thought today was the day she would finally have her surgery. She turned to me with a bright smile as I pulled up in front of the house. "Dad, we're visiting Grandma and Grandpa first?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just for a bit." I rang the doorbell. Mom opened the door, and the moment she saw Emma, she hugged her tightly. She loved Emma more than anything. And I wondered, if she knew the truth, would she still defend Jordan like she always did? I met her eyes, my voice steady but cold. "Where's Jordan?" She looked up, hesitating. "I'll go call him." She disappeared inside. The air in the house felt suffocating. I could feel the tension thickening with every second. Jordan knew why I was here. Slowly he stepped out, avoiding my gaze. I sat back, arms crossed, waiting. He spoke first. "Can you give me a few more days? The deal ran into some issues." I laughed. Not out of amusement, but because I couldn't believe the shamelessness of his lies. I tilted my head toward Emma. "Don't ask me. That money was for Emma's surgery." "Ask her." Jordan froze, his face pale. You can't make me beg my niece." I let out a hollow chuckle, my eyes cold. "Then what were you thinking when you stole from her?" The room fell into an eerie silence. My dad, Mom, and even Jordan looked stunned, like they couldn't believe what they had just heard. What did you say? Jordan stammered. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and opened Andrew's video. Stop lying to the family. I have proof. I hit play. On the screen, Jordan sat in a luxurious casino, stacks of chips in front of him, laughing with a group of strangers. The timestamp was explicit as day 9:07 p.m. 2 nights ago. The same night, he told me he was going out for drinks. Mom covered her mouth, horrified. Dad narrowed his eyes at the screen, his face unreadable. The video ended. The silence was deafening. I could hear the faint ticking of the wall clock. Then bang. Dad slammed his fist against the table so hard the whole room shook. His voice was low, furious, ripping through the silence like a blade. This is your investment. Jordan jumped to his feet, his face pale. Dad, please let me explain. What more is there to say? Dad roared, his eyes burning with rage. Mom rushed to his side, grabbing his arm. Calm down. You're hurt. But I knew I had never seen my father this angry before. He had trusted Jordan. He had asked me to give him 3 days. And now it had all been a pathetic, shameless lie. Jordan couldn't speak because he knew this time there was no way out. When my dad exploded in anger, I saw Jordan clench his fists. Then suddenly he turned on me. The shame and panic in his eyes vanished, replaced by pure rage. What the hell is wrong with you? He growled. You're setting me up. You want to humiliate me in front of Mom and Dad. I met his glare, and shaken. I don't care about humiliating you. I want my money. Either you pay me today, or I take you to court. Jordan scoffed, leaning back into his chair, arms crossed. Go ahead. I'll tell them you gave me the money willingly. The transfer was made from your phone. Who will believe you? I didn't blink. Instead, I calmly pulled out my phone, tapped on my recordings, and pressed play. Jordan's voice filled the living room. Last night when I stopped by your house while you were in the shower, I used your phone. 2 months ago when you had that accident at the factory, you asked me to pay your bills. That's how I found out you had a lot of money. That's how I learned your password. Mom's hand shot up to cover her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Dad clenched his fists, his entire body trembling, as if he was barely holding himself back from punching Jordan in the face. Jordan panicked. His face went pale as he lunged toward me, trying to grab my phone. Give me that damn phone. I dodged easily, keeping it close. My voice was cold as ice. Too late. My lawyer already has the recording. Jordan froze, his face drained of all color. He knew there was no way out of this. His lips curled in hatred, his voice shaking with rage. You're a piece of shit. I stepped closer, fist tightening, ready to end this once and for all. But before I could do anything, my mother spoke. Jordan, get out of this house. The entire room fell into dead silence. Jordan spun around, staring at her in shock. Mom, I'm your son, he pleaded, but her eyes were colder than I had ever seen them. I don't have a son who gambles and steals from his niece's surgery fund. Jordan stood there completely silent. He turned to Dad, desperate for someone to take his side. But this time, no one spoke. Mom turned to me, her voice softening as she looked at Emma. Take Emma home. You'll have the money tomorrow. I nodded, gripping Emma's tiny hand as I led her out the door. Just days ago, this house had been filled with warmth and family. But now, everything had changed. That afternoon, while I was talking with Emma, my phone rang. It was Mrs. Linda, my parents' next-door neighbor. Marcus, do you know what happened this morning? She asked, her voice excitedly buzzing. I frowned, still not fully awake. What happened? It's Jordan, she said. He refused to leave the house. He locked himself in his room, begging your parents to give him another chance. But your mom and dad packed his bags, threw them out the door, and called the police. When the cops arrived, he finally left. I shouted pride, a mix of surprise and relief washing over me. Finally, my parents were done enabling him. I didn't ask for more details. I just thanked her and hung up. Jordan had made his choices, and now he had to face the consequences. The following day, right at 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, my parents were standing there. Dad gave me a rare smile and said, let's go. Take Emma to the hospital for her surgery. I froze, taking a second to process his words. But where did you get the money? I didn't finish my sentence before Dad raised a hand, cutting me off. Go, don't ask too many questions. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. I looked at him, then at Mom. Her eyes were warm, but a shadow of sadness was beneath them. I knew they had to sacrifice something to get this money. But right now, I couldn't refuse. I turned back inside. Emma, she ran out, her face lighting up when she saw my expression. Dad, that means I'm getting my surgery today. I ruffled her hair, my throat tightening. Yes, sweetheart, today's the day. At the hospital, I quickly paid the surgery fees. No more delays, no more setbacks. Emma was then taken for pre-minus surgery tests, preparing for the afternoon procedure. I sat in the waiting area, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Everything had nearly fallen apart. But in the end, Emma still had her chance to live an everyday life. I glanced at my parents, then reached over and held their hands. I didn't need to ask how they got the money. All I knew was that they were still my parents. And Emma, she was still this family's #1 priority. We sat together in silence, waiting for a miracle to happen. Emma's surgery was a success. The doctors wanted her to stay for a few more days for monitoring. But I didn't mind. I sat by her bedside watching her sleep peacefully, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. After everything, she finally got what she deserved. But that peace didn't last long. On the third day at the hospital, I returned from grabbing coffee, only 2 freezing placed right outside the hospital room. Jordan, he stood there, his hands shoved into his pockets, eyes flickering with uncertainty. He was trying to look casual, but the second my father spotted him, he exploded. Get out! You don't deserve to be here. Dad's voice boomed down the hallway, turning heads from nurses nearby. Jordan raised both hands in surrender, his voice desperate. Dad, I'm sorry. I am. Just give me one more chance, please. Dad locked eyes with him, and for the first time, it was as if he no longer saw him as his son. The only chance I had was to give to Emma. You don't deserve one. Jordan clenched his fist, jaw tightening. He was holding back his anger, but he had no idea what was coming next. Dad pointed straight at him, his voice sharp as a knife. Oh, and since you're here, I might as well tell you now. You're losing your share of my house. Jordan's face drained of color. What? His voice cracked, his expression shifting from frustration to pure panic. Why, Dad? How could you do this? Dad let out a cold chuckle, crossing his arms. I already mortgaged the house to get money for Emma's surgery. Jordan's mouth fell open. What? No. What did you say? Dad's gaze was razor sharp. If you want your share of the house, pay back the $142,000. Jordan stood there, stunned. His mind was racing. He had lost everything. His jaw clenched as his panic turned to fury. You can't do this to me, he yelled, his voice breaking. Dad didn't even flinch. His eyes were cold as ice. I can, and I did. He took a step forward, lowering his voice. But every word hit like a blade. And if I wanted to, I could put you in prison too. Jordan froze. His hands curled into fists, not from anger but real fear. After Jordan left, I finally learned that my parents had taken out a high-interest mortgage on their house to pay for Emma's surgery. I looked at them, overwhelmed by a mix of guilt and gratitude. I had thought I was the one carrying everything on my shoulders. But all along they had been sacrificing too. Dad placed a steady hand on my shoulder, his voice calm as always. Don't worry, someone offered $500,000 for the house. We'll use it to pay off the debt and buy a smaller place. The most important thing is Emma got her surgery. I clenched my fists, feeling like a massive weight had finally lifted from my chest. I had lost a brother, but I still had my parents. And I still had Emma. 6 months later, Emma had almost fully recovered. She could walk without pain. She had even started taking her first running steps. Watching her laugh under the sunlight, I knew every sacrifice had been worth it. My parents bought a smaller, cozy home near mine, and we spent more time together, sharing dinners and enjoying the kind of peace that should have always been there. And Jordan, after being cut from the inheritance, he rented a cheap apartment and worked at a farm in the countryside. He still tried to visit home sometimes, but Dad shut the door on him every time. A few times he even came to my house. He would stand at my door asking about Emma, looking at me with guilt. His voice was always quiet, apologetic, asking for forgiveness. But I never said a word. I just closed the door. I couldn't hit him. I couldn't make him feel the exact pain I had felt. But forgiveness? No, not in this lifetime, because he didn't just steal money from me. He stole my daughter's hope. But I wonder, if it were you, what would you do? Would you forgive him and give him another chance? Or let him disappear from your life forever? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Thank you for listening.